Okay, so I'm calling this chap Phill, who, with his wife, owns a nursery business in Manchester. It looks like they own the building. It's quite a decent size. They want to move to Spain. They want to retire and move to Spain. That's always good to know. And apparently they called us last year. Now, either they spoke to my colleague last year and somehow it was lost in the deal flow. It kind of fell through the cracks, which is possible. Or we dismissed it because we weren't interested. Don't think I've spoken to him. Apparently, he used to work in acquisitions, which either means he's going to be really easy to talk to because we speak the same language and we'll just get down to brass tacks, or he thinks he knows what he's talking about and he doesn't. So it'll be one of the two. Turnover last year was 388,000, net profit of 8,000, which is weird. The year before, turnover of 385,000, loss of 14,000. If these numbers are accurate, this is not going well. Valued by a broker 3 years ago at 350,000. Yeah, of course it was. Already made a loss and it was valued at 350,000. He wants to rent us the building, so he's put in a rental charge, 28,000. 10-year lease, option to buy. All right, so he's been very specific about how he's going to lease the building to us. And he owns the building. Oh yes, that was it. I remember looking at this. Phill owns the building. Some is residential and some is the nursery. So am I going to be, what am I renting here? Oh, I guess he's going to rent the nursery, but he owns upstairs or something. Okay, well, sounds like he knows what he's doing when it comes to property, which is nice. So let's see what he wants for a business that doesn't make any money. Let's see what fortune he would like for a business that doesn't make any money. Again, he's expecting a call from me this week, not necessarily right now. You know what? When you've done a couple of hundred of these, you start to realize that they're really all the same phone call. You're doing the same phone call every single time.
Hi, Phill. Speaking.
Hello, Phill. This is Jonathan from Welcome Nurseries.
Hello, Jonathan. How are you?
Hi, I'm good, thank you. Now, I know that you were expecting a call from me this week, but I also know you were not expecting a call from me at this precise moment. So is now a good time to have a chat for 10 minutes?
You can have a chat with me, yes. I'd have preferred my wife to have been here, but she's actually had to go into the nursery.
Okay.
But yes, we can have a quick chat. I spoke to your colleague.
You did, yes.
A week and a half ago.
Yes, that's right.
I explained the situation. We're unsure as to whether this is the right time, obviously, to sell, Jonathan, but we were building up to it, even though we knew we'd overspent over a couple of years, and I do apologize, I'm trying to talk to my phone, it never stops. I've been trying my hardest to do Zoom calls.
Oh, right, okay.
Only for the reason that when you're on it, the phone doesn't distract, because I've literally just beep, 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 bum, 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 ding, and all that, trying to focus on the call.
No worries.
It's really frustrating.
No worries, I know the feeling.
I know that there must be a way of turning that off, but I've never worked out.
While you're talking to me, you mean? Have you got an iPhone?
I have, yes.
Yeah, just move the little side button to silent, the little sort of switch on the side, and then that would stop all the that would stop the alerts making a noise, but we can still talk to each other.
I never knew that,
Well, you know what? This is probably the first time in my life that I've actually sounded like I know what I'm talking about when it comes to giving technical advice. So
you feel good.
And I've got to say something. Your website colours, that pink, is identical to ours.
Really?
We have the same puce, bright pink. So lovely colour, lovely website.
We moved to that. I sort of did a rebranding when I left my job 5 or 6 years ago. Things that Tina had always wanted to do, like change the branding and just up the image of the place. So we've done a lot of work on the building. I was saying to your colleague, we borrowed money and we spent a lot of money on refurbishing and just changing. It was a bit old. It had gone a bit old building.
Yeah.
So it needed a touch of design, and we're trying to keep it. It's like like a lot of modern styling now. What people call it shabby chic. So we've tried to make it still have that old property, homely. I hate that word, homely feeling, because as a children's nursery, it shouldn't feel like home really. But
well, a lot of people say that, isn't it? It's like home from home.
Yeah, well, we tried to stop the girls saying that, mainly because the research shows that a lot of people are looking for a more dynamic sort of modern thing, nursery, and that's why when we got that data, we went, no, what we need to do is to modernise it, but keep that appearance. So it's a bit shabby chic, but it's still got that modern touch to it.
Yeah.
If that makes sense. And it goes along with all the paint colours that you find in your B&Qs this world and your Farrow and Ball colours. It's all.
Oh, really? Oh, that's nice. So you've kept it contemporary.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it's just trying to keep in with something that's modern but still has that old style to it. It makes sense.
No,
so we've done a lot of that. We've done a lot of work on that. There's things we wanted to do this year that we've not done. But I was saying to your colleague, we did make a loss one year, but we had to do something to clear off some. We had a lot of work to do. In addition to that, we had to clear off a director's loan account, which with some good accounting, we managed to clear.
Okay, so you solved that. That's good.
Yeah. So we made a profit last year. The last financial year, and unfortunately, I think with COVID, as my wife said, though, in all honesty, with furlough and everything, we need to put some things in. We might actually still make a profit, even though the turnover obviously will be
and that's
odd.
Yeah. So you're saying that's so the furlough scheme actually will allow you to make a profit.
It may well do. The honest truth is, we need to go. I need to do a tranche on the account and do the whole lot, but it's not now. I can tell you that now it's what's going to happen over the next 6 months. Yeah. Because obviously children are right now leaving school.
Exactly. Yes.
The good thing is, and the honest truth is, we put a marquee up in the garden and people walking past, and we had some local publicity because we did a thing called Wells House Wells Saurus. So we did a dinosaur, and we put dinosaur feet 2 meters apart. And a lot of parents saw that publication, and a lot of parents obviously were walking past as we were doing the work on the lockdown, and we got talking. So I think we've had like 5 new parents just from physically doing the work outside.
Oh, really? That's brilliant. I love that dinosaur feet. That's really good. Yeah. So what? Do you operate through a limited company?
Yes, we do. The basis of the nursery is that Tina always owned the building. Well, it was in her name.
Yes.
And the business limited has been for 20 plus years. And we recently, I didn't want to say retired. I came out of work because I was poorly. I needed to have at least a year off. Mm-hmm. I then set up 3 years ago. I set up a company called, which is a children's clothing brand online.
Okay.
Plus, we sell through nurseries and some retail shops as well. But when we set that up, at the time I was doing more work with Tina in the nursery. Okay. So it's what I did then. I put my pension fund and part of Tina's pension fund, because she didn't have a huge pension fund. We put them together and we paid off the mortgage through the bank, because we're quite a big bank, and a bank loan and a mortgage, so we just paid them off. So we own the building 50%, and the other 50% is owned by our SIP. Well, Tina owns 50%. Got it. Our joint SIP, which is predominantly mine, it owns the other half. So,
okay.
So that's the way it is. It's so we would probably, if you were selling the business only, and I was saying to your colleague, we'd be happy to sell the business only if we got the right money for it, and then we can agree a decent sort of lease on the rent.
Yeah, that makes sense. Just for your own interest, so you say that you've cleared the bank, have you?
We don't have any mortgage on the building or anything, and that's our personal one.
And you don't have any loans into the business?
We've got a loan on the business at the moment, and we've just taken a bounce back loan, but we've just got it sat there doing nothing at the moment.
But nothing. Okay, it's just that on Company's House, NatWest have a charge over the business. Now that could be from the previous mortgage that you've paid off.
I think we've had this before, and it has been removed. We've asked for it to be removed, but
They're slow. Banks are really slow. Yeah, you need to get rid of that.
It might be the overdraft, though. Sometimes they put charges on the overdraft, don't they?
That is true, yes, if you have an overdraft, yeah.
Yeah, we've got a 20 grand overdraft, so I think that might be that.
So you've got a bounce back loan of how much?
We got a bounce back of 14,000, but as I said, that we're hoping we don't need to touch that, to be honest. We've actually got about 18 grand on an outstanding business loan that we took out to do all the windows and stuff, put all new windows in the front, which we've been paying off monthly, obviously, but we're intending, if we send half of the bounce back loan back and pay that off, because the interest rate on the bounce back loan's like for nothing, isn't it, really?
Well, if you're paying interest on that business loan, I'd use the bounce back loan to pay off the business loan.
That's what I'm going to do. But with them, you can send chunks back on the bounce back. The thing is, we want to keep it in the accounts at the moment. We just don't know. You don't know what's ahead of us, do we? So
exactly.
You know, I mean, at the moment, our overdraft is up and down. So, and it's always been like that. The way we had that cash flow, we never had an overdraft until they started with not the voucher scheme, but once the government got it really into the funding. You know, when they changed the funding to 30 hours, and we just seen it over that couple of years. We had a really tight and hard and difficult couple of years, and then. So it sort of got into overdraft, and it's never really recovered from that. So it's always.
And how much, may I ask, how much of that 20,000 overdraft is overdrawn?
It depends, because what normally happens is we pay the wages.
Yes.
On that day, it's usually about a couple of grand in. You might have 2 grand left of the overdraft, and then as the month goes back up, it builds it back up.
Yeah, no, I understand. So you use it to use it to even out your cash flow at the end of the month.
Just putting it in basic monthly terms, we were at one point pulling in like 39,000 a month, and then it dropped to about 26, 27 with some higher months. But then we got it back up to like the 34 again. And then obviously COVID's happened, so it's very frustrating.
And did you stay open, or did you close completely?
We closed completely for a short period, because on our first week, we did the assessment on a Friday with all the parents. We had 42 parents saying that they were classed as frontline. However, from that frontline, there was a lot that worked in banks and things like that. Whilst they were classed as frontline, they were then told they can work from home and it'll all change. Yeah. But a lot of them also didn't want to bring the children into nursery because they were scared of COVID, because everybody panicked at the beginning, which was rightly so. So a lot of them said, we'd rather stay with the grandparents or aunties, uncles and all that. So literally by the middle to the end of the second week, from 42 parents supposedly coming, on the first day we had about 14, and it dwindled to like 5.
Yeah, we had the same.
So we did the maths and thought we just cannot possibly stay home with just 5. So we found one person said, well, don't worry, I can find care within the family. And she was a police officer. But then we had a few nurses, and they went to other nurseries, friends of ours nurseries, we found them who were staying home, because one of them is actually in a hospital. So she took 3 of the 4, and then another one went to another local nursery which stayed open.
Okay.
Because there's only been the odd in Bolton. There's still a lot of nurseries in our area still not open yet.
Yeah.
Which I didn't know until Tina mentioned it to me last night.
Yeah, exactly. So is it fair to say then that the nursery isn't very profitable at the moment?
From an EBIT perspective, it is. It's not. I mean, it pays us both a wage. We both take an income from it. Private health, cars, all that. It's car allowance, isn't it? Car. We charge like for mileage and things like that. We don't have a company car, so.
Sure.
So yes, for us it's profitable if we make a net profit, but it's also gross profit. Our EBIT is profitable. It depends what, as a business, you need to take out of it, whether it's profitable for you.
Well.
So if you re-engineered it, because obviously we have a manager and assistant manager, and it does run itself pretty much. Tina, while she's helping out at the moment, doesn't have to be in there day by day. She predominantly goes to meetings externally. So I suppose we're doing the sort of things your management team would probably do.
Right, okay.
You don't have to be sat on them all day, every day at all.
Sure.
Jenny's been with us 17, 18 years.
Right, okay. And what's your ideal time scale, would you say?
We haven't really sort of set a time scale, really, because if a deal was right, we felt it was right. I think Tina's just got to a point in the last couple of years before COVID that we always said we'd retire at 55 from nurseries. We didn't necessarily retire from everything, but from nursery. And mainly because Tina opened her first nursery when she was 22 years old. So she's been doing it a long, long time.
Yeah, sure.
And when I came out of work, it made us realise that, yes, let's be honest, I had a very good salary, so I miss the abundance of spending that we used to have, because I had a lot. I used to get very well paid, but now I don't. So it comes down to needs and wants. But what we have learned is certain things might fill your bank account, but they empty your soul, I say. Because
Sure.
My job was a wave lot. It was testing and trying on a young family, but it was a needs must at the time. But now I think we've just got to an age where we realise that we'd like to spend some time. But say for instance, we go away for a weekend, or we go abroad on holiday. We go a place in Spain, and we go to Spain quite a bit. But we're always on tenterhooks all the time.
Yeah, no, I know the feeling.
I can't tell you how many times Ofsted have come for their inspection. It's different now when they tell you.
But you mean the moment you've stepped off the plane?
Believe it or not, this is how long we have been over the years, and this has been a lot of the stress. We were actually sat on the runway because there'd been a problem with French air traffic control. And they said, look, we're going to open the doors, and we're going to open it because we could be sat here for an hour and a half, could be 3 hours, and you can put your phones back on and all that sort of thing. We'll open the doors, and as soon as we get slot, we'll go, because we'd slightly missed the slot, whatever they call it, as we were going. So we turned our phones on, missed calls like 12 on the phone.
Right.
And it was Kelly saying,
Ofsted.
Just letting you know, Ofsted are here.
Yeah. That's all you need to spoil your holiday, isn't it?
Yeah, but we had probably at that point, and it was probably our worst inspection ever, this girl. We tried to actually take her to court because she didn't do anything to the book. She was absolutely the nastiest person you'll ever meet.
Right.
And she was here until she broke all the conduct. She didn't leave until 9:30 in the evening.
Right.
And I think she just was in a bad mood that day. I don't know what.
Well, exactly. I understand.
It was when Ofsted farmed it out to another company, and it was them, and she was just awful. So they gave us requires improvement. Tina was absolutely livid. Bear in mind, she's been a consultant opening up initiatives for other people as well.
Really? Okay.
She was, you can imagine, as a professional. Her friend was a former Ofsted inspector, and she regularly does inspections for us and drop-ins. And she said, "You're outstanding, but they're still never giving us outstanding around here. There's something they don't like about the area." I don't know.
So just coming back to the accounts. Let's come back to the accounts.
Yes.
So your year end is March 31st.
It is.
Have you got the 2020 accounts yet?
I've got the 2020, 1920 year, yes, I have.
Oh, you have got those. Great. Okay.
I have. And Marie was asking me if I got this year's. I went, no, not yet.
Yeah, but those are this year's. So the 2020 are this year's. Yeah. So if you look at
we've got March 19. Sorry, I do apologise.
Oh, 19. Okay.
Yes, apologise.
So if you look at the 19 accounts,
yeah.
Actually, sorry, I've got them here. I've got abbreviated the abbreviated version at Company's House, which doesn't really show a lot of detail apart from the balance sheet.
It won't show you profit and loss, really, will it?
So the balance sheet is negative 13,500 as of March 19, and the year before, March 18, it was positive £898.
Yeah, it'll be probably our director's loan account,
yeah. So So what is the P&L? I mean, I need to know how much profit is this business making in a 12-month period?
Yeah, what I said to Maria is, if you're interested in looking at us, what I would do is get some adjusted accounts done.
What do the actual accounts that you file say?
As in a profit of, just bear me a second, I'm looking at the wrong page. The actual net loss last year was 14,000.
On a turnover of how much?
On a turnover of 385.
And what do you put the loss down to, would you say? You obviously knowing the business as you do.
A lot of things, but as I said, there was a lot of spending went on. I'd prefer, rather than doing it on the spot, to sort of analyse it a little bit more. I'm just looking, because I'm fairly sure I've got this year's accounts as well. I'm looking at old ones. Tina's had her mitts on it, and
right.
It's not always a good thing.
So what have you got in mind as the figure that you're looking for the nursery? How much are you looking for?
Well, being reasonable, we were hoping to get, and bear with me, I'll find the new accounts. We were hoping to get around the 350, 325 mark.
Okay.
1 second, because I had all the accounts ready, and Tina's definitely been fiddling with them, because I'm sure we've got this year's as well. She may have taken them to the nursery to something. Anyway, I've got the. So.
And how did you reach that number? We were
doing really the EBIT. We worked from the EBIT, so it was basically if you add in all the things that we'd taken our director's salaries, add them all back, we got to sort of 95,000. And I said to Maria, I need to sit down with the accountant and just do a reassessment of that over the last 2 years. So I have got the 20 account. I do apologise. Caught me on the up a bit. Profit. We made a profit last year, 7,940.
Okay.
And on the balance sheet, the net liability is 13,304 last year. That's reduced to 5,364.
So, I mean, you know as well as I do that what the balance sheet is saying is that if we sold everything today at face value, then that is what we would realise. If we sold the assets, this is the asset value, this is the liabilities, we paid off the liabilities, we'd still be in a negative position of £5,000. The P&L says we've made a profit of £8,000. There's clearly quite a big jump between 8,000 and, what did you say, 98,000. So that means there's 90,000 of personal expenditure going through.
It is, because if you take out, because we don't work in the business, if you take our director's remuneration out of that,
which presumably is minimum wage, because you take the rest out as dividends.
No, do you know something? Look, we didn't, because we knew we were making a loss that previous year.
So you didn't have any dividends to distribute?
Yeah, we knew that was very likely to happen, so we sat with the accountants and we changed Tina to, I was also on a small salary, and I bought Tina. Tina was small salary and dividend, because she's the main shareholder, and I only have a small shareholding in a limited company. So we put her on a full salary, basically. And I'm just looking for it because I'm being as blind as a bat.
So you're saying that there wasn't any profit, so you couldn't distribute dividends?
We knew we were unlikely.
So you took it out as a salary?
So the director's salaries on the 19 year was 61,500. And last year there was 70,864.
Right, so you're taking out really chunky salaries.
We've taken about 2.5, 3 grand a month each.
Right, okay.
Obviously, you wouldn't need to pay that. And then we've got travelling expenses of a couple of grand, multi expenses 4.5. These are things that you won't have to pay if...
Well, I mean, to be fair, I mean, every owner thinks that they have nothing to do with the business, but...
No, I know that.
They always do.
I mean, I spoke to your colleague. I mean, I used to work in insurance for a company that bought insurance brokers. So we used to look at the proper P&L. And I mean, I've done it the other way around, where people said, "Oh, look at that, we made £500,000 profit," and then you factor the actual dividends back in as proper wages, and you say, "Well, when we look at it, you're actually making a loss." Because for us to still pay you your proper salaries when you work for us, your company's actually making a loss.
Yes, exactly.
Dividend, yeah. So you've got to factor it both ways, haven't you? But ours is the other way, where we're very much helicopter managers, really. And I'm sure there'd be some elements of that cost, because these days I do a lot of the DIY stuff and the maintenance, gutter clearing, grids, whatever I can do.
Yeah.
I mean, to bring something in to do. So there's always, with a nursery group buying us, there's always going to be elements of additional cost there, isn't there?
Yeah, I mean,
and I'm sure you'll factor in something for a sort of regional manager, I don't know how you do that. We used to do it, different ways for different branches, basically.
Yeah. I mean, it would be very hard to justify 350,000 for a company that's balance sheet insolvent. And that would just be, it just wouldn't make any sense to us. Is that a number that you're committed to?
Not really. I think it's just because we've had valuations done in the past where they've said generally you sell just the business, you're generally looking at sort of 3 to 3.5 times EBIT. But as I know in my old job, it's a realisation of what's the current market value.
That's the thing, isn't it? And to be fair, the whole world has changed in 4 months. So it is very different now.
I'm sure it has. Yeah, it's understanding that, Jonathan. And like I said to Marie, if it isn't the right time to sell for us now, it isn't. Then but ultimately, if we want to go, we've got to sort of be.
If you want the best price, you've got to wait 3 years, because in 3 years' time, all of this will be the dim, distant past. Even 2 years isn't really long enough. You need 3 years to completely get past this and everything to sort of be back to where it was before. So if you want the very best price, wait 3 years. If you are more interested in certainty and speed of deal and getting something done, then you won't get the price that you'd get in 3 years' time, but you sell the business. So that's that's the trade-off between the two.
It is, yeah. I mean, what sort of multiples of EBIT would you be looking at, you guys, or do you not do it that way?
Well, it doesn't always make sense to do it that way, because if you looked at it like that, our numbers are all over the place. So sometimes it's 1 times. In one case, it's 0.25 times. It's a quarter times. Sometimes it's 2 times. Sometimes it's 1.75. I mean, it massively depends.
I know. I've been on the other end of it. I totally understand it. Every business is different, and at the end of the day, we had a model. I even factored a spreadsheet. Everything had to fit a certain parameters within that, red, amber, greens. And as long as we didn't have a lot of reds, we would negotiate. And
of course, there's a value to the lease as well. I mean, if you're granting, say, a 15-year lease, and you've got a tenant for at least 15 years, that in itself has a value too.
Of course it does, yeah. I mean, that's as a landlord, you've got to look at it separately as well. But I mean, we've even spoke to. There's another nursery now. We sold to another nursery, a friend of theirs nursery. That's down in the south part of the country, and they said what they've done is they've sold the building and the business. So they've sold the shares of the business, but so they've had a chunk of money now, deposit, and then they're paying it almost like a licensing fee. So they're paying them off over like 10 years, plus the rent.
Would you
work from a capital gains perspective? That worked well for them in both aspects. And I said, well, you're very lucky to find somebody who's willing to do that for you, but also the person buying is probably lucky to find somebody who's willing to do that as well. Sometimes it dovetails like that, doesn't it?
And is that something you'd be open to?
I think we'd consider that, yeah. I think it'll all come down to that. coming up with some sort of value, realistically.
Well, why don't we make the next step, my colleague Linda, who's my childcare expert, to come and have a look round and meet you both out of hours, in the next week or so. How does that sound?
I think we'll be okay with that. Yeah, I think if she wants to come and see us, by all means, yeah.
So what I'll do, I'll ask Maria to link you and Linda up. Now, she's out of the country for 48 hours, but when she's back on Thursday, she can have a chat. She can, via email, she can arrange a date and a time with you. Would that work?
Yeah, it would. Yeah, where's she been away to?
She's unfortunately she's at a funeral in the Netherlands at the moment. Right, okay. So that's today, and she's back later on tomorrow, and then she'll be back to work on Thursday.
Right. Okay. I'm just checking about visits because obviously with the Ofsted thing, we've got to be very careful with COVID.
Oh.
People travelling, because I don't know who's on the list and who's not, right?
She wouldn't have gone if she thought she wouldn't be able to go into our own nurseries. Sure. So I must admit, didn't even.
Our holiday, but.
And is that to Spain, Phill? Is it Spain that you go to?
Yeah, that was to Spain. We just didn't want to self-isolate for 2 years.
Oh, me too. Right. Whereabouts in Spain have you got a place there?
It's on the Costa Blanca near Torrevieja.
Oh, lovely. Yeah.
Been there for 17, 18
Oh,
years.
lovely.
It was all caused by my job, really, because I hated hotels, because I lived in hotels. Therefore, when the last thing I wanted to do was go in a hotel to have a break on holiday.
Oh, I get that.
So we bought a villa in Spain. So.
No, lovely. Good on you. That's fantastic. Great, Phill. Well, I'll connect you and Linda, and Linda can come and meet you. And look, if there's something we can do, we'll tell you. And if we can't, we can't. But at least we both tried, right?
Absolutely, yeah. And I think I will do some workings with the accountant. They're on holiday, funny enough, at the moment. So I'll try and get a Zoom call in with them. Yeah. And then we can work out.
Don't get over enthusiastic with the ad backs, because all we'll be doing is knocking them back. So don't go in guns blazing with adjusting that EBITDA, okay? Because we'll just be tweaking it back the other way. But look, I'll let you and Linda have a chat in the next week or so, and then Linda will report back to me. Then we can have another talk on the phone.
All right, no worries.
All right, lovely stuff. Cheers, Phill. Thank you. Bye. Bye. Now, he's a nice enough guy, but he talks too much about things that are irrelevant. And I've always thought that the business owners who are on the scale of not so successful as the others are always the people who talk the most about things that just aren't relevant. They go off on a tangent. They can't keep a clear train of thought. And he knows a little bit, sort of, he's being obviously a bit, kept on talking about director's loans. He's being a little bit sort of clever, I think, with the way but he's putting it through his salary because he can't. He's wrong, actually. I tell you why he's wrong. He says that he can't take a dividend because he hasn't accrued the profit in order to draw a dividend. But you can take a dividend in advance of accrued profit. So he's actually been paying too much tax. But anyway, that's not my problem. So. You know what, though? I don't know if you noticed, but towards the end, he said he knows someone who sold a nursery and they're paying him over 10 years. And that's when I said, would you be open to that? And he said, yes. So this might be doable. It didn't look doable until he said that. So he's actually given me a deal structure. 10 years, very happy with 10 years. Very happy with 10 years. So anyway, let's see what happens. But a big learning point from that one, I guess, for anyone interested, is that even though sometimes you feel like ending the conversation because it's so irrelevant, just let them keep talking, because he wanted a deal. He wants a deal. He wants to be in Spain. Yeah, he wants to be in Spain. So if we can give them 60, 70,000 a year, which is what their salary is, over the next few years, and they don't have to think about the nursery, because he told me right at the beginning how he got off the plane, called from Ofsted, ruined their holiday, then I think there's a doable deal, and it's a good location for us, and it's a good size. So it ticks all the boxes. Yeah, good one.